Hope you guys are having a great day in the life. It's been a long day in my life, so I might keep today's video short, but I wanted to talk to you some today about electrolysis. And I did not want to touch on the process of electrolysis. I've done that in earlier videos. I'll try and link one of those below. But what I wanted to touch on today was instances where you may not want to use electrolysis on your iron relics. Now, you're going to find a lot of iron relics if you're out relic hunting, and over the course of finding those relics, you're going to find them in all different states of decomposition. Now, as iron stays in the ground, the iron begins to dissolve and oxidize and leach into the soil, and that's why we see that halo of rust around things like nails and big iron relics that we find in the field. The iron is actually dissolving and leaching into the soil. So the longer the process has affected the relic and the different types of soil conditions can determine how much of that iron has actually leached into the soil. Some relics stand that leaching process pretty well. Relics like this cannonball, which has some pitting and ground action showing, but has overall maintained most of its iron integrity. Other examples of relics that have maintained their integrity are these Hotchkiss shells. They are relatively solid still, although they do have some pitting and ground action, but they could withstand the process of electrolysis fairly well, as could these two thick stirrups, cavalry stirrups. So those relics withstand electrolysis pretty well. But some relics, such as these smaller delicate relics like this gun tool and this gun hammer and gun butt plate, are relics that might not stand up to the harsh electrolysis treatment. Another example is this bayonet that I found while I was hunting with my friend Mike Newman. And you notice that the pieces are very delicate and crumbly, and that a lot of the iron has leached out from this bayonet. If I were to run this through electrolysis, it would dissolve into a pile of iron flakes. And that is certainly not what I wanted from this relic. This relic meant a lot to me on a lot of levels, and I would hate to see it dissolve in an electrolysis bath. This is a relic where I made a mistake. I found this relic also while hunting with my friend Mike Newman, and it was covered in a sheath of rust, and it is a wired shell, a wired Hotchkiss shell. It's a pretty rare shell, and I brought it home and I got off as much rust as I could, and I put it in the electrolysis tank. I came back 4 hours later and it was crumbling to pieces, and what had happened was the soil there had leached out so much of the iron that it was basically just an eggshell of an artillery shell. And now I have it in a state of kind of limbo while I'm waiting to get some Gimplers, rust treatment, and recoat the shell in Gimpler. You can see this white stuff on the shell. That is actually the washing powder still on the shell. I didn't want to mess with the shell again too much for fear that it would actually crumble to pieces. So, evaluate your iron relics closely before you decide to do electrolysis on them. It is a pretty harsh treatment, and if you leave it for too long, you can come back to a pile of rust flakes and no relic, which isn't what you want to do with the history you can preserve. So, use electrolysis sparingly and carefully. I hope that might have answered some questions as to what relics are safe to use electrolysis on and which ones aren't. I hope you're having a great day in the life. I'll see you tomorrow.